I'll send you instructions.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because there's people in the audience I know that want to read this at home, and it's kind of, as I was told the other day, our website is good, but the search isn't good. So finding it for people, they're asking me, how do we find these documents? And I'm like,
So essentially, you'll go to the menu, you'll click on departments, business department, and then you should have a few tabs from there. Finance and operations is what it's called.
And then it's financial documents. And in that it has the menu like you normally with your board. And I think we have the past 10 or 12 years of located in there for review and then point on.
yeah, if you wouldn't mind sending me that process.
Just a step.
Because people call and ask me, and I'm like, don't ask me that, because I put it in search and nothing comes up, and I'm like, okay, you get my point.
Yeah, they're all on there.
Thanks.
Did you wish the auditor to provide?
Oh, good job, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys, for showing.
Okay.
Carl, could you clarify? I thought you said I could speak in public comment. And then
I
you
didn't,
wanted
and you declined.
I didn't
You
decline. I said, yes, I'd like to speak. Thank you.
And you didn't vote.
And you went right into audit.
Yeah.
Go ahead. If you'd like to speak, go ahead.
All right, I was just confused because I thought I said thank you, yes, but okay, I appreciate it.
I'll finish last.
Okay, so thank you. My name is Suzanne Johnson, and I'm a district parent, resident, taxpayer, and voter. First, I would like to express my gratitude to the Adams County Commissioners for voting last week to allocate the county's remaining $500,000 from the American Rescue Plan to their funds to the ACTI building project. This is a critical need for our students and workforce demand in our county. Now I'll turn to the proposed 2025-2026 calendar included in the agenda for next week's meeting. I don't have a strong opinion about taking away a school closing in March to accommodate the request for school closing the Monday after Thanksgiving. Some students and staff might prefer some time off in the spring versus more time in November and December, but I'm sure there's split opinions about that. However, I do want to speak up for our educators and students when it comes to the proposal to move the start of the school year one day earlier for the students, resulting in decreasing the educator preparation days from 3 to 2. I don't think it's best for our students to do this. We need to keep the traditional first student day on Thursday, August 21st. If you're maintaining the first teacher day on Monday, August 18th. I believe teachers and staff have a lot to get done in those 3 days to prepare classrooms, lessons plans, etc., to be ready to welcome our students on their first day. While there may be split opinions among parents about a Wednesday versus Thursday start date, an arbitrary decision to change the first day shouldn't be made without understanding of the impact this would have on the preparation that needs to be done before our students enter the building. This is definitely something where the board must consider input from our education professionals. I didn't get a response to my email about this last week, but it's certainly something the administration should address tonight so that the best decision can be made for our educators and students. I don't understand the rationale of adding a student day at the beginning of the year when you were fine with 175 and a half school days or student days when the draft was presented first last week. If this was an attempt to pad the schedule an extra day due to concern about wanting one traditional snow day versus FID, the elementary hours well exceed those required by the state without doing so. So there's an opportunity to give one or more traditional snow days to elementary students in place of FID days without adding this extra day to the calendar. The secondary hours also exceed those required by the state, but they will likely be cut to accommodate a February move of the middle school to the high school, so you may need to consider continuing FID for bad weather days just for the secondary students. Another item on next week's draft agenda is approval of policy 805, relations with law enforcement agency. This policy states that the superintendent shall update every 2 years the memorandum of understanding with each law enforcement agency. When was this last done, and why is the Littlestown Council talking about a phased reduction in security services for LASD according to their agenda for tomorrow night? What changes are they proposing? How is that even legal? This seems like a strong-arm way to force a school board into increasing school taxes to pay for a police officer after the board voted against it last year when they wanted twice as much as we're paying for an internal LASD employee. That, to me, just doesn't seem legal, nor would it seem legal for the fire department or EMS to say we're going to reduce services to your schools. Nor would I expect the police department to say randomly, we're gonna reduce security services for, I don't know, other things in the district, in their jurisdiction, like the grocery store, or Stoner's Farm, or our polling places, or places of worship. I encourage school board members and others in our community to attend the Littlestown Council meeting tomorrow to ensure that the safety of our children remains a top priority, not only for our school district, but also the Littlestown Police Department, which are both funded by taxpayers. Fortunately, there's no school board meeting tomorrow to conflict with the council meetings, but this does highlight the need to eliminate that overlap of meetings in the future, as I previously urged. Thank you.
Mr. Giltini, you're up.
Thank you. Good evening. An exciting week, I hope. You have the slides up here? There we go. Okay. Which one are we gonna look at? Let's look at both of them. Construction start date 9/13. Phase 1 completion date 1/17/25. That would be this coming Friday rather. Move-in date, I think, was what, the 22nd?
That's right.
The contractors are, to use a common phrase in the industry, standing on each other's shoulders to get it done. The building's looking pretty good. All the ceilings went in the past couple days. All the above ceiling work is done. The above ceiling inspections are complete and have been passed. The final occupancy inspection is going to be this Friday by the middle department for the borough. Phase 2 and Phase 3 completion dates, you'll notice I have asterisks on those. That's because we all know that the first phase was late. So we would anticipate those dates changing, but the contractors haven't given us the new dates yet. So as soon as we get them, we'll update you folks on what those are going to be. 16 months expended as of 1/13, and I did not hear that the snow this past week caused a lost weather day, so we're still at 1 day. Next slide, please. Tonight we're talking mostly in Area C and 2 rooms in Area D that are going to be turned over with the initial Phase 1. The next slide. So we've got the new washer and dryer for the district in the boiler room annex, we'll call it, outside the boiler room. The mop sink panels are done to protect the walls of the mop sinks. The interior expansion joints are all done. The safety fence was moved so that we can use the new bus loop in the new parking area. They started final cleaning in the new addition last week. That's ongoing. They're final cleaning classrooms now. The concrete sidewalks are pretty much complete. Everything that's needed for occupancy is complete before the winter set in. Again, the ceiling tile installation on all 3 floors now is done. The HVAC is complete, ground and first and second floor now. It was 98% when I wrote this, and as of Thursday and Friday last week, they've completed. They were in there this morning doing balancing, and that'll be probably the rest of this week. They'll be air balancing and water balancing. Plumbing completed on ground floor and first floor. The second floor, when I was up there this morning, they had all the sinks in except for a couple in the second floor science rooms. We've had some problems with the fixtures up there. Not all of them arrived on time. So the plumbers will be spending the rest of this week getting those in and tested so they can be used next week. Reception area, front entrance office areas, the pass-through window is going in today when I went through, so we're more than 95% completed now. The nursing suite flooring is down. The joints have to be welded. The curtains aren't up yet, but that'll be done this week. Lighting and controls are all working. The programming is, Victor is going to be meeting with them tomorrow, I believe, on completing the programming of the lighting and controls. Fire alarm is operational. The emergency generator has been installed and tested. Med-Ed has installed the temporary primary transformer. Since they kind of messed up on us, they gave us a transformer to use for Phase 1, and then they're going gonna switch that out this summer for the rest of the building. Painting's completed, and the painter's going crazy, running around the building doing touch-up and trying to fix things when contractors inadvertently back into the wall. Casework installation as of today is complete. There's one or two tops that were not the right size, but they've installed tops to compensate for that, for occupancy. Again, Med Ed installed the primary transformer, nurse's suite, that's done. Fixtures to the science rooms, we're putting them in now. And, inoperative gas regulator for the generator was fixed. Go ahead, Carrie. And the final occupancy inspection is going to be on Friday. And I'll be doing that as well as Victor and the inspector and all the contractors, the superintendents of the contractors. You'll notice the net changes and pay apps are blank. That's because I left them blank to get updated, and we really haven't, the checks just went out after the break, so we don't have any update numbers. As soon as we get the updates, we'll post those for the next meeting. And project photos. Okay, that is your main event stairway that you're looking at from the athletic lobby up to the first floor. The handrails on that will be going in on Wednesday. So all the handrails in the building will be going in on Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, next slide, please. There's the front of the building. You can see the new entrance there under the large gray overhang. There are panels that have to be put on. Some of them have been put on, and they're still working on that. They know that once we occupy next week, they can't access the front circle anymore during the daytime, so they're trying to get as much done as they can. Next slide, please. That's your generator here, the new one, and the gray box next to it is the primary switch gear, and then there's the transformer, secondary transformer sitting there. That's classroom doors on the, I can't remember if that's the first or second floor, but that's just a typical example of classroom doors. There's a wall in the center that separates the two rooms versus this. Next slide, please. That is your new reception area with the tile on the front and the desk itself. Next slide, please. That's the nurse's suite desk. The blue wall behind it is where the curtains are going for the exam stations. There's exam rooms on either side of that. There's bathrooms and a couple workrooms in there. Next slide, please. That's the corridor on the first floor looking west. That was before the rest of the ceiling tiles were put down, but as you can see, it's pretty complete. Next slide, please. That's casework in one of the project rooms. You can see there's a sink there. And there's, the way the science rooms are set up, there's a science room on either side, and then there's a project room and like a project and storage room on the other side of the back wall there. Next slide, please. That's one of the science rooms, those are the lab stations. Next slide, please. That again is your stairwell going from the athletic lobby up. That's your main athletic lobby with the tile wall back here with the little down L on it. Next slide, please. Okay, now I didn't add to these last couple of slides because the front of the building where you're looking at now hasn't changed that much. You can kind of scroll through those, Gary. But that's where we were at the beginning, and then if you just keep going down, that was June, there's August, there is September, October, and that was November, and that's the last one. There has been some activity on this. Can you drop that back, Terry? On this section here, there's been some activity. They've been waiting for there's a blue band that kind of goes around the building at the first and second floor level that they've been waiting on the materials for, and that has to happen is we kind of have to push them down a little bit because they're gonna wanna get in there and start ripping things out right away, and we have classes going on in there, so we have to be careful when and how they do that. But yeah, second phase starts on Monday. Well, they'll be starting it on Monday. I don't think they'll be 100% into it before the end of the week. Because there'll still be moves, and as we all know, any of you have gone through a building project before, when you move into the new building, the first week is pretty much taken up with, hey, this isn't working, hey, that isn't working. So, anything else?
I just want to thank you, Gil, and I want to thank the folks that are here in the district, along with the contractors for really pushing hard these last few weeks to get everything done. I know we worked through a number of issues together, and we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it will be a great day on the 22nd of January when the high school students get to go into that new area for the first time.
And I believe, although I didn't hear from Victor this afternoon, I believe the furniture started rolling this afternoon.
That's correct.
It's rolling in now.
It's rolling in.
Rolling.
It's a big traffic jam, right? And I know there's several tractor trailer loads that were supposed to come in this afternoon, this evening, so.
It's like 2 trucks a day, they told me.
A lot done and a lot yet to do.
And they're gonna be assembling that furniture in the new multipurpose room and then taking it down into the building and up the existing elevator, since we don't have the new elevator yet, into the rooms, so on the second floor and first floor.
Thank you.
So, yeah, thank you. It's an interesting project. It's been a little bit hectic this week, but we'll get through it.
Well, I tell you, after being into this for 5 years now, I'd like November 2025 to be the finish. I'd like to be a part of that little celebration.
That's yes.
You saying we're gonna have a celebration?
Celebrate dessert this time. wouldn't it?
That's right.
Thank you all. See you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gil.
Thank you.
Tom, at this point, will you talk about LASD reduction that is on tomorrow night's budget concerning the comment, the last line of the screen?
You mean in relation to the borough?
Yes.
That has to do with the building project. So within the building project, we had to do an escrow account to manage all of the security, what they call security estimate, to meet all the requirements. So like you'll talk about the ADA, like the sidewalks, the shrubbery, some of the stuff internally and externally, we have to meet silk socks, runoff like that. When we meet certain thresholds, we're allowed to release that funds back to us. That's what's on the borough's agenda, is to release about half the funds, since we're almost halfway through. We met pretty much half that requirement. So that's what that request was, because the borough has to review and the council has to approve it. Then it goes to the engineers to make sure we met all the check boxes, and then we have to release funds back to us.
Okay, thank you. All right, Dr. Fiaschi, you up again?
So last month I put a proposal out there, because of the need of a mental health therapist, because ours is going to be going on maternity leave, and you asked me to go out and look at for some more options. So I'm still in the process of getting some of those options for you, so by the next meeting, I have 5 right now, but not all. I'm waiting on some proposals, some still haven't gotten back to me. It was just with the holidays, just keep calling, and we keep going back and forth, so by the next meeting, there will be a couple options to pick from. I'll just share with you everybody that contacted, and this is what I have.
All right, so I'm gonna pause you for a second. So are you asking me to table that motion one more month?
No, because it's next week, the voting session, for
Okay.
this month's voting
Yeah,
session.
I know, but for this, will you have them by next?
Yes,
By,
yes,
okay,
yes,
all right.
I have, I told them I have to have.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
okay.
yes.
That's why I was
Next
clarifying.
month will be too late,
Okay, that's why I was clarifying
Yes.
when I, okay.
yes.
All right.
And then also in special education, we're gonna be doing some trainings, and this Friday is one of our PD days. So one of the trainings that grade 1s, our school psychologists, it's called CPI training, which is crisis intervention. So there's about 13 of us who will be doing some training on learning de-escalation techniques, behavior management training, crisis intervention, just skills to reduce like challenging behaviors, that come up. So we'll be doing that. And then also, I'm taking a team of teachers and we're going through some training at Patan. It's intensive skills training with emotional behaviors. So it's a 3-day series, so we'll be doing 1 day in January, 1 day in February, 1 day in March. And also, in that training, we're going to be looking at instructional practices, behavior management systems, just how to help support our students with those high emotional needs. We got a bunch of PD coming up. That's all.
I look forward to my wife using this de-escalation
Yeah.
training on me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you give me a copy of it ahead of time so I know how to, so I know how to get around it, which uses the terms? Thank you. Dr. Naylor, excuse me.
Good evening. From a cyber school perspective, we currently have 64 students in our cyber school program. We're in the middle of the school year, so cyber school kind of runs on a semester concept. So wrapping up the first semester, grades, scheduling for a second semester has taken place over the holiday break. From a security standpoint, I want to thank Safety Officer John Lorenz and our ACES administration, Joey Moran. I know before the holiday break, as we talked about parent drop-off and helping and supporting that and looking at what we have currently in place and some adjustments. I know John has some experience in Baltimore County with similar traffic control situations, so they took a look at what we have available to us and what we could do a little bit better to ensure we have a safe morning with our parents and students at Callaway Creek. So I know it's been a process, and it's appreciate their efforts in that. I think it's going very well. From a technology standpoint, I'll just echo on the board agenda, asking for support in the technology department with regards to our data administrator. We will be without one for some time, but also Quinn leaving us with over 7 years of institutional knowledge is critical. So there's a proposal there to continue to utilize his services in supporting ed tech from a software standpoint, scripting standpoint. It impacts the student, the teacher, the school district across the board, from a classroom to the cafeteria. Software and technologies involved in that area, and definitely appreciate consideration for that ask with regards to that technology consultation services. We also are almost complete with our Google Cloud migration. We talked a little bit about that with the board in a prior meeting. That should be completed by the end of January. That's an opportunity to take our data servers, hardware out of the school district and utilize Google Cloud services for data. So on the same lines of data, files and managing files, that's digital file cabinets. We have a lot of filing cabinets over at Maple Avenue in the storage area, probably dating back to 1930. That we need to have a plan for. So this is kind of as well wrapping in the records management and things of that nature. So I will be meeting with a couple of different vendors regarding how we might take some of those hard copies and digitize them and put them in a place where it's easier for us to access as well when those requests come in. So we are looking at Maple Avenue, but as well as any other documents that we might be utilizing across the district from a streamlining process, and obviously adhering to state and federal guidelines with the retention policies that we have in place, but looking at all of those records and how we can best manage them appropriately. As Gil mentioned, we're almost ready. So from a technology standpoint, we've been working with our contractors as well to ensure that we can have the building open and ready to go for faculty, staff, and students. That concludes my report.
Anybody have any questions? Just to clarify, he made something I asked Dr. Mitchell. The records have to be kept for 99 years?
Some of the records are, yes, you have to keep records for 100 years. So you can imagine what a request might come in for somebody that wants to, let's say, I'm just gonna make something up, but it happens, a transcript from a 1970s grad. And you try and facilitate that request, obviously. So I think having a digital copy of some of these documents will help as well in streamlining the time and effort that goes into working through that process and storing all those documents as well. And part of the proposals are off-site storage. Some of the companies offer as well for the hard copies and things of that nature. Whether we want to go that route on top of digitizing records, will be a conversation we can have as well as we take a look at that.
They should charge them. I mean, I tried to get a copy of the 1981 paper, and it was like, they wanted to charge a fortune.
So it's a pretty big undertaking, a big task that's a task that we need to definitely take a look at. So,
Dr. Miller, if you get the digitized formatting done and your documents are secure in that format, what do you do with this? Do you have no longer required to keep it, or do they have to be?
That would be a decision we could make, whether we want to have those shredded or the vendor keep those as well. Those are options to consider.
Okay.
Can you tell me what your contingency plan is if we say no to this consulting proposal?
Yes. I'll probably rent one of those big containers that you see around the district. I have no plan other than that.
Wrong proposal. I think you're talking about the
Consulting
Quinn.
proposal for Quinn.
Oh, you're talking about Mrs.
I'll take that for a second from Dr. Naylor. I did reach out to a local agency that provides technology services to get another quote to see what we could do and how we might be able to provide for it, because we weren't certain that we would be able to find somebody in the short, quick turnaround that we had. And I would say that this proposal that you're going to see tonight is a much better proposal than what we would have gotten from another organization. It's a lot cheaper, and the quality of the person that does the work, the person who's done the work. I was going to save this until questions came up, but just to let you know, in 2016, I believe, Quinn was hired, and as soon as he came on board, from what I've discovered and found out, is that he began automating a number of processes that we use for simple things such as logins, student logins, security provisions that we have, and he's basically built the system from the ground up. One of the nice things that we have is we have a team in our IT tech department that really works together, and he is extremely proud of what he's put together. So when he came to resign and spoke to me and Dr. Berryman and shared his intent to leave the district, one of the things that he said is, I want to make sure that what you have continues on even after I'm gone. We've built a really great structure and a really great system at the district, and I want to make sure that it continues on and I help transition that new person. So part of that process is not only making sure that we maintain what he's built because he knows those codes and what's written, but also to transition that new person and to understand the codes that he's written and the scripts and those things. So just wanted to share that.
And what were you going to do? You're going to get a big dumpster and...
That's for the files.
That's for
Right.
the files.
Gotta do what I gotta do.
Either way.
All around the district.
I would like to.
Does anybody have any other questions for Dr.? Hearing none. Dr. Berry.
No dumpsters in my report. Just a couple things to highlight for you. Currently, students in K through 8 are taking their second diagnostic in iReady. The admin team is meeting with our representative tomorrow afternoon from iReady to start looking at some of that data from the fall to our second diagnostic. And then on Thursday and Friday,